Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beantown Banter podcast.
Hunter on the move, racing back, it's over his head, it's gone, it's into the bullpen, this game is tied, this game is tied!
Eovaldi is on the top of the crease, Red Sox score! Bergeron!
Driving forward, diving to the goal line! A touchdown! And a title!
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
Recording live from Boston, Massachusetts, here are your hosts, Brady Gardner and Patrick Donnelly. And welcome to episode 12 of the Beantown Banter podcast. I'm Brady Gardner, joined by Patrick Donnelly. Patrick, how are we?
A little sick this morning.
I'm feeling something a little bit too, but we will soldier on, continuing with our 12th podcast in a row. These weekly podcasts coming out for you guys. And as always, we'll start with the Patriots. And Patrick, you want to start on the good or the bad?
The bad. I'm upset.
The bad. Wow. Okay.
I'm upset.
So we got the bad. The Patriots losing to the Miami Dolphins in Miami, something that has happened far too often in recent years. 34-33, coming on a 69-yard touchdown featuring two laterals on the final play of the game. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch it. I was in the car, so I just heard the call.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw it, and I kind of blocked it out, kind of refused to watch it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are asking why Gronk was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's part of your prevent defense.
Not for a 70-yarder.
I mean, that's true, because, like, a Hail Mary isn't likely there.
No. Tannehill has had shoulder injuries, throughout his career. He's on a bum ankle. You don't expect him to throw it 70 yards.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
So that's puzzling.
Puzzling indeed.
Why he didn't adjust, or why Belichick didn't adjust it there.
I wonder if that's a Flores decision or a Belichick decision.
I think it was a Belichick decision.
Interesting. But yeah, I think that's what?
You think Belichick's going to give Flores the reins in that situation?
Well, I don't know if it's, kind of emergency, everybody on their own things, and Flores just says, you know what, Gronk, get out there. Like, you never know what happens. So there's just no point to have him out there. And this is my personal biggest takeaway. Well, not biggest takeaway, but just kind of my biggest frustration is having Gronk on the field at all in those defensive situations. Because this is a guy who is always one bad landing or, bad contact away from being done for the season. And potentially done for the career because obviously his heart isn't really into it like it has once been. So you're going to throw him out there and say, you know what, you go wherever the ball is, you bounce into other people, and you just make sure you knock it down. Like, that is an insult to a guy who's had all these health problems throughout his career. You're telling him to go out there and just put himself in harm's way for really no reason because, how much of a difference does his height or just general size really make in that situation?
Well, I mean, if it's a Hail Mary, then yeah, it does make a difference because he can get up.
But can't Cordero Patterson do the same thing? Like, you have tall players. I just, it was cool when he was young and it was like, okay, he's fine, I
was like, wow, this guy can do both sides of the ball.
Yeah. But now that he's obviously not superhero Gronk like he maybe once was, why are you taking a chance by putting him on the defensive side of the ball? Because he had a great offensive game, went over 100 yards for the first time in a while, had another touchdown. Finally, him and Tom are hooking up better. And now you're going to throw him on defense. And, of course, the image that's going to be in everyone's mind is him stumbling, trying to catch up to Kenyon Drake on that last play. Because he's not a defensive player. He's got good going forward speed. Once he gets a head of steam, he can, fly by opponents. That's where his speed comes in. But trying to run backwards and defend an opponent, just not his game. And he looked stupid doing it yesterday afternoon.
Yep.
So that was frustrating, to say the least. And I think it was kind of on one play, I don't want to say a microcosm of the entire defensive game because it really was not that much of a dumpster fire, but it was certainly not the defensive effort that you saw against Minnesota last week.
Absolutely.
You held one of the best offenses, at least on paper, in the league to 10 points last week, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come out against the Miami Dolphins and give up 34. So.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's no excuse for Frank Gore giving Frank Gore 92 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
35 years old.
It's a fossil. But I mean, Kenyon Drake, you had issues with him last year. He's a classic dynamic back that this defense can't handle.
Yep.
So I mean, how much of it comes down to roster composition like it did last year? How the defense just can't handle these dynamic runners.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, and I guess credit to the Dolphins because they did obviously, play a good game and they hung in there and did enough to obviously beat the Patriots, and so that's always an accomplishment. Ryan Tannehill, too, had a bad ankle from probably the late second quarter and kind of soldiered through it and had a great game for himself, so good for the Dolphins, and who knows if that ends up pushing them into the playoffs ultimately, but certainly one that got away from the Pats. And I mean, my personal kind of look at this is that it's just constantly playing down to the opposition. Because, you see that win against the Chiefs, and it's like, okay, we're back at the top of the AFC, everything's great, and then you lose to the Tennessee Titans, you get blown out by them, It just seems like every time it's like, oh, this is a good opponent, we got to really get going for this one, and then, oh, well, we can kind of take our foot off the gas here, well, not so much, you end up losing to a bad team.
But it's also this team's night and day versus home and the road.
That's true. Is Miami really that scary a place to play, though?
It has been.
Well, that's true.
It's your kryptonite these last few years.
But why?
Last year, Monday night. This year, Sunday afternoon.
I mean, I always kind of just chuck that off as it's a late season matchup where, maybe Bill's experimenting with stuff. You kind of remember the Michael Floyd or the Steven Jacksons where they're trying to implement players late and see what they have because they already kind of have a playoff position wrapped up. But that's not at all what it was yesterday. They're still fighting for playoff positions. So
it was last year on Monday night, and this year it was these both not quite Week 17, Week 16 matchups, but both in the early teens.
Yeah.
And they throw up, they're not really duds this week, but last year was a dud, and then this year they heartbreak. So
yeah,
I think it's just Miami, and it's also like on the Gronk stumble, they've been having a ton of field issues down there.
Okay.
So you gotta wonder if he hits a dead spot in the turf there or something.
If you look at the way he was running, he had
I know.
Looked like a baby deer.
I'm just saying
tripping
though,
over himself.
Like they had several delays to fix the turf.
That's a good point.
And that field's been recent years they've been working up until kickoff to make it playable.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it's obviously still not that great of an excuse.
Yeah. And also one thing I forgot about that last play. Devin McCourty was not on the field.
What?
Devin McCourty was replaced by Rob Gronkowski. Because I was wondering, as the as the play develops and Kenyon Drake is, running through your team like Swiss cheese and, where's the secondary? Like, oh, what happened to, McCourty? And, oh, no, Gronk is your safety. What? No wonder they, chucked it down and tried to do laterals because you had no coverage deep. Or like, in the...
It's a great call by Adam Gase.
It's a great call. And apparently they talked about that in the postgame. They're like, oh, yeah, once we saw him on the field, we're like, no chance we're chucking this. So then they were like, let's go to the right, run right by Gronk. And that's exactly what they did. And that's what other teams will do.
Mm-hmm.
He does not need to be on defense. And you wonder if Cordero Patterson, who's a little bit more athletic, probably go in both directions than Gronk, being a returner and all that. Wonder if he makes a play on that.
I think, how about an actual defensive player on the field?
That'd be helpful. Just somebody to push him out of bounds. You don't need to swat it down. It's a 70-yard throw. It's not going to happen.
Or say Josh Gordon gets there. Even Josh Gordon.
Anyone. But you put the injury-prone Rob Gronkowski. And you have to wonder, with these heartbreaking losses, how much Gronk and even Tom Brady really are enjoying their football at the moment. Because you saw Tom having his own troubles with his knee. I don't know if you saw the clip where after the Gronk touchdown, he was trying to kind of limp off the sideline and ended up actually falling on the field and had to have the training staff come get him.
Wow.
Yeah. So Tom not doing too hot. And you could kind of see it. He became a little bit nervous, it seemed, towards the end of the game. Any sign of pressure, he just chuck it. He missed Chris Hogan open in the end zone. Plenty of other misses I'm sure I'm forgetting, but it's just not the same.
Burkhead on 3rd and short.
Yeah.
And it's also just like that's a trend too. Like anytime he gets pressure and late in the game, he just chucks it.
Yeah. And that's not good. That's not classic Tom. But that's kind of what it's falling into lately.
Yeah, and it's also like it was a lot of mental mistakes too, because like his mismanagement of the clock at the end of the second quarter.
Right. And of course
he thought they had a timeout and they didn't.
He did?
Yeah, he said that in the postgame. He thought they had a timeout.
What?
This is Tom Brady.
Oh my God. He never admits that, so that's not good. I did not hear that.
Yeah, postgame said he thought they had a timeout.
Yeah, and he held on to the ball way too long. Just chuck it. Annoying mental mistakes. And then, of course, Steven Gostkowski hit a field goal, dude.
Yeah.
He missed an extra point and like a, 40-yarder, which is a chip shot for him.
Yeah.
He sailed everything right. Some snuck in the post, but everything was to the right.
I mean, those days are just going to happen. He's been perfect so far this year.
I mean, okay.
I mean, what are you suggesting? They find a new kicker?
No.
Who's better that they're going to find on the street aside from Steve?
Okay, I just feel like this happens far too often where he's missing field goals in big spots. Because you saw this game was being a shootout, and so you need him to hit the field goals, and he can't. And you can almost see it when they're doing the close-ups on him before a kick. Like, he's thinking about it extra. I've never been a huge Gostowski guy. I don't know why, but it just seems like in these big games, it's always a nail-biter to watch him step up to a field goal.
Okay.
Any other negative thoughts as we get them out of the way here?
I don't really have anything else.
Okay,
I mean, considering I didn't watch that much of it.
Well, that's true. Probably for the better that you didn't, though. Some positives. Offense looked good, especially in the first half. Tom spreading the ball around well. That touchdown pass to Cordell Patterson was a thing of beauty. 40-yard missile turning back the clock. Loved that. So it was good to see them, working everybody in and kind of giving a little idea of what this offense could potentially be, as it really hits its final form potentially here late in the season. Obviously, it didn't really go so hot in the second half, but first half certainly was impressive. Actually, one kind of negative I can note is the run game. Nothing all day.
Yeah, Michelle had 57 yards.
Yeah. And, of course, we love Josh McDaniels trying to establish the run the entire game. But, yeah, it just was not working yesterday, so you had to throw it more. But throwing it more was successful in the first half, so I guess that's encouraging, having your offense able to put up 34 or 33 points, which is not enough to win a game, but usually is. So, felt better about that, but did not feel better about the defense.
Nope.
Any other positives, really?
Nothing.
Wow. Man, this is a depressing way to start the podcast for sure, folks.
It is.
So, Patriots fall to 9-4. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers next week, and then finishing off with 2 divisional games against the Bills and the Jets. Have to expect them to be able to clean up against the Bills and Jets, especially being at Gillette, those late season games. Usually they're fine in those, but this one against the Steelers is a big one. Steelers have lost 3 in a row. They're kind of battling for their playoff lives at this point, and obviously the Pats trying to secure the first round bye. Really need to win out, I would say. You need these final 2 wins to finish at the classic 12-4 benchmark, and it's not going to be an easy one this week. What are your thoughts?
I'm not overly concerned about Pittsburgh.
That shocks me, because I am.
See,
Why not?
Just the way they've been playing recently.
Okay.
They've been an absolute joke
Yeah.
the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they get James Conner back next week, but, I mean, because Ben Roethlisberger has pretty much been terrible this year, aside from, not terrible on the whole, but.
Just not himself.
Yeah, and we can say that about Brady, but it's also, like, on that hand, Roethlisberger's also looked worse at times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also, I mean, James Conner's great. He's been fantastic. He's having a great year, but a little trouble with the ball lately, ball security, especially, 2 weeks ago, that Sunday night game against the Chargers. He had a big fumble there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also just, like, coaching and the classic Steelers shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. My personal thought, and I told you this yesterday, I think this is going to be looked at like that Jaguars game in week 2. Obviously, that feels like forever ago, but this is a team that you barely beat last season in a controversial ending where, is it a catch? It's not a catch. Ruled not a catch. You pick off Roethlisberger in the end zone on some, crazy final play, and somehow you get out of there with a win. And obviously the Steelers didn't feel so good about it with all the controversy about the catch, no catch. They're looking for revenge. They haven't played you since that big game, and they were hoping to last postseason, but then the Jaguars beat them. So I think they're looking for revenge, and they're going to come out knowing that this is essentially their Super Bowl, and that's exactly what happened with the Jaguars earlier this season. You beat them in the AFC Championship. They wanted revenge, and they got it because they treated the game like their Super Bowl. Obviously, things have not been so good for the Jaguars as of late, as they're, 4-9? Not good at all. But this is, one of the biggest games of the season for the Steelers, not just because they're playing against you and you have some history there, but because they're essentially playing for their playoff lives with the Ravens still kind of hanging in there. So,
I mean, they're still first in the AFC North.
By one game, though, right?
By one game. Who does Baltimore have next week?
They have one tricky one left. And
Baltimore is Tampa next week.
What do they have the rest of the way?
Chargers, Browns.
Okay, so you
I mean, I'm sure the Browns will play some sort of spoiler down the stretch.
really?
Well, like, I'm not saying they're automatically going to beat the Ravens,
Yeah.
but it's not going to the way the Browns have been playing lately, Baker's kind of been hitting a stride. Aside from last week in Houston, they've been better, especially since Hugh left.
That's true.
And then the Ravens also the Chargers, which could go either way, but the Chargers have been great. And then Tampa, their offense has finally found something. But as far as the Steelers go, I mean, they didn't toss up a dud, but they lost to the Raiders in kind of humiliating fashion again.
Right. I mean, losing to the Raiders is humiliating in itself.
And then they lost to the Chargers in humiliating fashion. And then same thing with the Broncos. It's all these. And then they didn't even, you can look at the Jaguars game. They had no business winning that game.
Who? Oh, the Steelers? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an ugly game.
They only got it because Jacksonville's play calling was horrific.
Right. I just think you got to be careful of the Steelers this week because they got a little something extra, I think, going into this game. And but if you can get through the Steelers, I think you'll find the rest of the way. But it would be great to have a convincing performance here against kind of your only legit opposition of the year, if you want to call them that, even though maybe they're a tier below you at this point. So I think this is a real telling game, or this could be. Do you come out and you're looking like the wind's been taken out of your sails after that deflating loss? Wow, nice. Deflating loss against the Dolphins, or are you re-energized? You got a new focus, kind of seeing as what can happen there again when you let a bad team into a game like that, and you just kind of you close the door here on the Steelers, shall we say? I think that's the two options.
Well, it's also you got to look at Roethlisberger playing hurt too.
I think everybody's at this point though. Tom's playing hurt, but you can see that. His knee
Yeah,
is
but Tom didn't leave the game, and Tom isn't listed on the injury report already.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
I mean, Roethlisberger's he's gonna play, but
oh yeah,
get some pressure on him early. Hit that. Get some contact on him. Get the ribs hurting.
Nice.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Go for the ribs.
Great. Yeah, well, I think that's all our thoughts on the Patriots, obviously, and not the week that they were expecting. And now you're seeing, things coming out. Are the Patriots going to win anything this year or whatever? And
No.
I know you have a thought on that.
They're not going to win.
That's so sad.
They're not winning the Super Bowl.
That's so sad.
I said this since the offseason. They don't have the roster.
I know.
Especially on defense.
I
they
refuse
don't have
to
the
believe it.
roster whatsoever. I mean, they'll probably end up shocking me.
Yes.
Because they'll just pull a rabbit out of the hat in the AFC Championship game like they always do.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of different scenarios
They're
for
gonna
the
get smoked by
playoffs.
whoever comes out of the NFC, though.
I think I think there's still reason to be optimistic about the Patriots' chances in the playoffs if things stand as they are. But we'll get to that later when we kind of move into more national stuff and take our look around the NFL. But with that, we'll move along to the Boston Bruins, who had themselves a pretty decent week. Didn't start off too hot with losses to Florida and Tampa Bay, 5-0 against Florida in that forgettable game, and then 3-2 to Tampa Bay. So we'll start with that chunk of games on Tuesday and Thursday. So your thought from those two losses?
The Florida game, we're just gonna forget about that. Let's burn the tapes.
Okay.
It's like
Florida has your number. I feel like you always struggle against Florida.
No, not really.
We don't? Okay.
No.
Never mind.
So there was just no effort whatsoever in that game. That's really all you need to say. No effort.
Why not?
I don't know.
Not like it was a back-to-back. Only played on Saturday before that.
It just came out so flat.
Was it on the road? Yeah, it was on the road.
And they gave you literally nothing to be excited about. Just a complete and utter manhandling at the hands of the Panthers.
But the game against Tampa was a little bit better.
The game against Tampa was better. Obviously, I mean, so they get that quick goal from Pasternak. Cave shoots it. Pasternak kicks to the stick, cleans up the rebound. And then they get two more hard shifts on Tampa Bay. And then the game changes. Noah Chari goes in and shoots from just inside the blue line, and you get an offensive zone faceoff. And shots like that are almost just as bad as a turnover. Matt Calvin had an article about it on WEI, and it's though, like shots like that have absolutely no point to them, have no prayer of going in, and they just make a face-off, and then you lose the face-off, and they go the other way. It's just making a turnover.
Wow.
It's just as bad because like what's the point of a shot there? Like chip it deep and start a forecheck or something but you shoot it from like 90 feet away.
It must have really bothered you if that's your one of your first thoughts about that game.
No, it's not. And but after that face off is where I was texting you about is where it turned into like a Pee Wee game where we have like the tier 1 first place team against the tier 3 team, where it was all Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. For the rest of the first period, like not even close. Boston had no pressure whatsoever on Louis Domingue.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't even play Vasilevsky.
Yeah, Vasilevsky's still hurt.
Oh yeah.
He only managed 2 on Louis Domingue.
Nice. Still good defense there, but yeah.
Yeah, so it was just the complexion of the game changed quickly after the Boston goal, and then Tampa went up. I mean, it was Charlie McAvoy's return, too. He had a little bit of rust, obviously. He took a dumb penalty. And then had a bad turnover that led to Point's goal to tie the game. And as the game went on, those 2 goals in the third period to put Tampa up 3-1 were terrible. I mean, you had a turnover on power play that led to a Cirelli breakaway. And then, honestly, I don't remember the third goal. That might have been the third goal, actually.
Yeah.
But either way, it was a better effort.
Yeah, that's right.
But not enough still.
Right.
And that brings us to against Toronto.
Toronto, and you were loving this one.
I wrote them off on Friday night.
You did. You have a little bit of a shaming right here, folks, because you were expecting a full-on slapping at the hands of the Maple Leafs.
Well, did you see the lineup they were trotting out against the Maple Leafs?
It was disgusting. You had arguably a 4th line on your second line. It was not pretty.
Yeah.
But by some miracle, the Boston Bruins pull off a 6-3 win over the Maple Leafs in a game that was essentially over by the end of the second period. Beautiful stuff from the Bruins. And how does it feel to have been proven so unbelievably wrong?
Oh, I'm glad I was wrong.
Okay.
I'm so glad I was wrong.
Yeah. Oh.
Why would I be mad about being wrong if they won?
I guess that's a good point, but it all comes back.
So you had guys getting off the schneid, as Jack likes to say.
That's right.
We had JFK, their goal of the season, cleaning up in tight.
Yeah.
And then David Backes, I think it's 5 points over his last 7 games.
Ooh.
He's been picking it up lately.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then obviously Krug gets his first of the season going into this weekend. Krug had no goals in the season. Now he has 2.
Spoiler alert.
Heinen, that break in the third, first point in 11 games. Good to see him getting somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good on Cassidy to keep putting Heinen out there because it's going to come eventually. And he's not really been an issue so far. It's just he can't find a way to bury them. Because his 2-way game is really underappreciated. What he can do for you on the forecheck and in the defensive zone along the wall with his stick. He has such a good stick in battles.
Mm-hmm.
People don't really realize that. And then obviously big weekend for David Krejci.
Yeah.
Krejci had a goal and I think 3 assists this weekend. Let me just make sure here. What was that? I just thought I just heard some music in the background. Did you?
Well, I don't think so.
Wow. I'm losing it.
Yep, you're losing it for sure.
I'm losing it. I really am. Wow.
Just killing time as you consult the Googles.
No, yeah. So Krejci had 2 assists, or just the 1 on Friday. But anyways, great win against Toronto. But Krejci's also moved past Cam Neely for 10th all-time Bruins scoring.
Yeah, good for him. Been around a while, so I hope so.
But we had Charlie McAvoy playing fantastic. His best game in a while. Well, obviously a while. He missed a month and a half.
Yes.
And Zach Hyman, who was running around all game, was bound to catch somebody, and his man was Charlie McAvoy. So earlier right off the bat, McAvoy had that little cross check on Mitch Marner.
Yep.
That was soft.
It was very soft.
Marner went down real easy.
Right.
It's probably just because the fact that he's 150 pounds soaking wet, and McAvoy's 201.
Jeez. Okay.
But soft call. Leafs didn't like it, obviously. Scrum starts in the corner. We had the meanest people have been looking for. There's your enforcer, Brandon Carlo, mucking it up with Nazem Kadri.
Yeah, right.
Big height difference there. Wow. 6'5" or 6'2"? And then we had Hyman at one point tried to take a run at McAvoy. McAvoy kind of ducked it. Big swing and a miss from Zach Hyman. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then here we are, third period, like 15 minutes to go in the game.
Game over at this point.
Game over, yeah. From a Toronto team that had not been playing physical at all. From a Toronto team that hasn't played physical at all this season. And then all of a sudden, Zach Hyman takes a run at Charlie McAvoy on a real late hit. You get like a 1 Mississippi count there. And the NHL standard is 0.6, so definitely a late hit. High. Yep. Predatory nature. That's what they said in the video.
Predatory.
It was.
What a word.
Elbow out. It wasn't the direct target, wasn't the head, but still had contact.
Yeah.
And a dangerous vicinity from the boards. And really, it's absolutely no need for it. And he comes from an angle where McAvoy can't see him coming.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's probably not thinking about that. Ooh, look at this. Right from behind me. He can't see me. But blindside unsuspecting player and results in injury. And then we have Matt Grzelcyk. Or, no, Sean. Yeah, it was Grzelcyk.
Yeah, Grzelcyk.
Jumped Zach Hyman. Kind of got it. Didn't really win that one.
No.
And then all of a sudden, next shift, Chris Wagner takes a run at Morgan Riley. Clean hit, by the way, shoulder to chest.
Right.
But somehow Wagner gets the charging call after he glided into the hit.
Mm-hmm.
Charging is when you're still moving your feet. He glided into the hit. And shoulder to chest, big tough guy Ron Hainsey comes in.
Yeah.
Being like, come on. It's like Jack put it perfectly. You're going to be retired on the beach in 6 months.
How old is he?
Hainsey's got to be at least 38.
Jeez.
He's really he's been there like transition. He's 37.
Wow.
Yep.
But yeah. What? That is weird.
There's that music.
I think it's just feedback. Like I think it's just kind of room noise, as they say. That's spooky though, and the listeners at home probably think that we're crazy. Do you hear anything without the headphones?
No.
That is spooky, folks.
But now a voice is coming through.
What?
Like a radio voice. What?
Is there a ghost?
Unless, these mics pick up literally everything, so it could be something from the classroom next to us that we don't really hear.
I don't know, but we're very easily distracted. I think just the...
I know. You got to get me to stop talking here. I'm
right.
just going... I'm
the
just
overall
breaking down
message.
the game.
Yeah, the overall message here. Bruins, a little bit more toughness. And I think that's important because they've always been talking about this team needs an enforcer. I don't know if they really do.
They don't. They need talent.
Yeah, they need talent. You've written an article about that. But they need talent. And I think the toughness will come. I think you still have a lot of young guys trying to find their legs a little bit, focusing more on their games right now than maybe the whole team aspect. But I think, just wasting your time with an enforcer is obviously, as I just said, a waste of time. But certainly encouraging against Toronto, getting that 6-3 win. Offense, not a problem in that one, although it has been in recent games. So I think we can count that as an exception and not really a change in momentum somewhat.
Yeah, because it went right back to square one yesterday.
Right. So going into that game yesterday, and by the way, Charlie McAvoy was totally okay.
He did play after Zach Hyman got 2 games.
That's right, Zach Hyman, 2 games. Charlie McAvoy back in the lineup the next night. So taking on Ottawa, and a little bit more tricky there, despite playing against a significantly inferior team to the Maple Leafs. But
How about Mike McKenna?
So they got the 2-1 overtime win. But Mike McKenna in net for the Senators did not make things easy.
Stole the show.
Who is that guy?
That stacked the pad save on Corral in OT.
God, turning back the clock. I loved that one. That's old-time hockey right there, folks. It's getting louder.
Yeah.
Was that your laptop?
I think it is my laptop.
Golly.
ESPN automatically running these highlight videos.
Oh, my.
Oh, that's it, folks. God. We found it.
Unbelievable.
That's careless.
That's just bad radio.
That's such bad radio.
Alrighty. So, coming into Ottawa, and obviously, you play against a high-energy game against a good team in the Maple Leafs, and it's not easy to play a back-to-back right after that. So I think you can chalk up a little bit of the difficulties to that.
Especially with the weird early start, too.
That's right, 5 o'clock, strange. But a win is a win, and Tuukka Rask, once again, phenomenal in net for the Bruins.
I mean, the one goal he gave up really had absolutely no chance on. That was a phenomenal goal.
It was, yeah.
That was a rocket from Mark Stone.
Yeah. And then obviously we said McKenna keeping the Senators in it too, but not for lack of chances from the Bruins. Kind of makes you worry a little bit with the lack of production or lack of clinical finishing
Yeah, they went like 0 for 4 in breakaways.
Yeah, not ideal.
Marchand and Pastrnak each were like 0 for 3.
Yeah, but Marchand did have a goal, right?
He did on the power play. So even strength scoring is still kind of an issue for this team,
Right.
especially for Brad Marchand.
Yeah, but it seems like he's going a little bit. Like you can almost sense a little bit more confidence from him when he's on the puck.
Yeah, he's been trying to. I mean, so it's kind of infuriates me because he tries all these dangles, and it really hasn't started since he became a consistent 30-goal scorer, and it usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's like you're fantastic along the wall. You can pull those off on the half wall in the face-off dot anytime. But when he tries to do it in the middle of the ice, it doesn't usually end well.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like he's just trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that kind of wraps up our extensive review of the 4 games from this week. But you had an interesting thought, and I had an interesting thought. You want to go first?
All right. So last night we had the Battle of Alberta again. We had Edmonton. We had Calgary visiting Edmonton, and our pal Don Sweeney was in the press box at the game, checking things out.
Interesting, and that's like way out of the way. That's not like stopping by for a hockey game. That's you have intent, for sure.
That's not you have a road trip over there and you're there, which is usually like that.
Yeah.
That happens, like common.
Yeah.
No.
He's looking for something, but the question is what? My God, we can hear your Starbucks. What's this? ASMR.
I apologize.
Bad radio, Patrick. All
Okay.
right, go ahead.
So a couple options on the table.
Yes.
Here. There's obviously the guy who people have been talking about, Milan Lucic. And then there's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and I'd say also Alex Chiasson.
I'd take either of those.
I would take it. Yeah. So let's pull up the Oilers roster here.
Can we not get Lucic, please?
No,
No,
absolutely
thank
not.
you.
I will quit.
You quit everything.
I'll just
They
not.
said you need an enforcer, and he's actually not that old. I thought he was older than he is, but you need speed and talent, and this guy is kind of just rough and tumble, grit player. David Backes 2.0.
So he still got that like speed in the straight line thing that Lucic is known for.
Whoop-dee-doo.
But he has no hands whatsoever.
Yeah.
No finishing touch at all anymore.
Yeah.
Just absolutely nothing in that department.
Bad contract, too.
Worse contract than Backes.
Oh.
People are saying Backes and Lucic 1-for-1 swap. First of all, Lucic has 2 more years after Backes runs out.
Oh, my God.
And a no movement clause.
That's a Shirelli move and a halfback over there in Edmonton.
Yeah. And a no movement clause on top of Backes.
Oh, boy. What if Don Sweeney
So-
trying to expose his predecessor?
Like, not even if you get a first-round pick back with Lucic. Absolutely not. Do not touch that contract. This is a guy who scored 2 goals in his last, 78 games. And he has a goal and 5 assists so far in, 32 games this season.
Is that bad?
That's bad.
It's not good.
2 goals in almost an entire season of hockey?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he had scrap last night, so I guess if you want an enforcer, go ahead, pay him $6 million. Absolutely not. No.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as realistic options go, I mean, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was taught as far as last year been linked in possible scenarios with the Bruins. He's having a fantastic year so far this year.
How old is he?
He is still, I think, 24, I believe.
And he's on the
He's
Oilers.
25.
Why would they want to get rid of him?
So they have 3 centers, 2 first-line centers, and then the second-line center, Nugent-Hopkins.
2 first line?
Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. You're paying Draisaitl $8.5 million to be
That's
Connor
true.
McDavid's sidekick on the wing
Good point.
when he can easily play center.
Huh.
And that's how he made his money as a center.
Give me that guy.
No. So I mean, so they have Nugent Hopkins, and I don't know if he's due for a contract soon.
It's going to be a big one.
Yeah, it's gonna be at least $6 million. Actually, he's locked up for $6 million, I believe, for the next few years. But anyways, he has 8 goals, 18 assists so far this year, 26 points in 30 games, and he's having himself quite a year, and that would certainly help because he's played wing recently too. He's played on Connor McDavid's wing a few times, even last year. So I mean, I would certainly look into it.
Yeah, but it's going to take a lot to get him.
Yeah,
A young player who's producing, it's going to be difficult.
I mean, Krejci,
What was that?
maybe Krejci.
Yes, and that brings you.
Second line center.
That's my point.
So Nugent Hopkins is $6 million until 2021. So this year and then 2 more years.
Yeah, but my thought is that David Krejci is on fire, and it's good to see. He's finally, he's kind of coming into it here. He's making the people around him better. Awesome. But his trade value has never been higher, and he's getting older. What?
Is it though?
His trade value's high.
No, but is it as high as it's
Okay,
ever been? I
maybe
think
a
post
okay.
2011 or 2013 playoffs when he led the
Maybe
league
a
in scoring.
hyperbole for the point, but you get what I mean. This is a guy who's kind of been underachieving in previous years, and now this year he's finally
not so
getting
much,
okay,
really,
whatever.
though.
Just go with it.
Okay.
He's getting things to click, and he's getting older, and you could get something young for him, and this might be the time to do it. That's my thought.
I don't know. I think they might crucify Shirelli if he pulls this off.
What?
They'd probably crucify Shirelli if he
Who?
does that. Edmonton.
Oh God, yeah.
He's on his
They didn't-
he's on his last breath, and it's not even close.
Yeah, they'd be getting even older, and it would not be good. So, I'm just saying, if you want to go Nugent Hopkins for Krejci, I would take that every day of the week.
I feel like the Bruins might have to give something else though, because
Boy.
Krejci's got a bigger contract with a no movement clause.
Chuck in like a Zaboral or something. I don't know.
Really?
I mean, something unproven. Who knows? That's another thought. You have so many prospects,
So
so you have log
That
jams
you-
at so many positions.
that you refuse to move, by the way.
Move them.
Yeah.
They're worth more now than they will be when some of them prove to be busts.
I mean, they
Trader Don, get going.
and you can say all you want that it's hard to make trades, which it is. But if it's so hard to make trades, you're one of 31 guys that people have deemed skilled enough to be able to make those trades.
And why are the Penguins having so much success with them?
This Jim Rutherford's not gun shy either.
That's true. That's what you got to be. You got to be aggressive. Danny Ainge.
But another option is Alex Chason, who right wing. He's been kind of found money for Edmonton. He has 12 goals and 3 assists for 15 points in 24 games.
Huh.
Had a real hot start, and he's kind of back to the mean now. But he's still been good. I mean, 12 goals in how many games? 24.
Yeah. Well,
that's solid output right there.
it's kind of tricky too with these trades. Like, are you? I guess I'll ask you. Do you think the Bruins are in a win now mode?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think they can afford another year of missing the playoffs.
Well, I wouldn't say missing, but I mean like literally Stanley Cup or bust. Is that what they are?
They can't afford to
Really?
waste another year of this core. I mean, Bergeron's 32, Krejci's 31, I believe.
Chara's 41. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is they're not getting any younger.
Right, and you do have some guys on,
Scratch that. Krejci's
very
30.
helpful contracts with Charlie McAvoy. And,
Who's due this summer, by the
yeah,
way.
you got guys you're gonna have to pay. It's kind of like the Red Sox. Like you look at them and you're like, oh, they got a good, some good young talent, and yeah, they're gonna be good for a long time. But yeah, you gotta pay those guys. So right now you have such a good team because you're not paying them all that they could be making, and so you kind of need to win now. The Red Sox did it. Can the Bruins do it? Signs right now are kind of unclear.
So it's right now you have Bergeron 33, Chara 41, Marchand 31, Krejci 32, and that's your core that you're going with.
Yeah.
And they're all climbing into their 30s. 30s ancient in pro hockey now,
Yeah.
but they're still getting it done. Chara's climbing into his 40s for that matter.
Still getting it done.
And how many more years of this window do you have? Because this summer you have Chara due because he's going to play at least one more year, I say.
Yep.
You have Chara, Donato, Heinen. No, not Heinen. You have Chara, Donato, JFK, McAvoy, and one more. All due for contracts.
Right.
So, and Carlo. That's who it is.
Wow. Yeah, you got young guys you got to pay in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're going to do something, do it now, Don.
And he can say all he wants that we don't know what this team is because they're not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really, the bulk of your injuries is on the back end. All in all, you know what you are in the forward group.
Huh.
One-line team, even when healthy. One line plus 2. Krejci and DeBrusk. And now DeBrusk is hurt, too.
Right.
We don't know for how long. They're
Down, no, it's a
reevaluating him now.
snowball. Huh. All right. Well, certainly a lot of unanswered questions there with the Bruins, but they will certainly progress. I don't know. We'll get more answers as the season goes, I'm sure. Good to move on to the Celtics?
Yeah.
All right. Your Boston Celtics back in the win column. How about that?
4 in a row.
4 in a row after beating the Pelicans and Cavaliers and the Timberwolves. Wow, I just blanked on that so hard. This week, a lighter week, they only played Thursday and Saturday, but they beat the New York Knicks 128-100, And then the Chicago Bulls 133-56, the biggest margin of victory in franchise history, 56 points.
Yeah, we were wrong. It's 5 in a row.
5 in a row. Oh, yes, that's right. I can count. But how about your Celtics?
I mean,
Take the green teamer victory lap.
it's either I think it's 6-1 since Kyrie said F Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And 5-0 since Kyrie told Hayward to stop being a little girl and shoot more.
Wow. Sexism, too. Wow.
Well,
Patrick's views are not expressed by the podcast.
I used a fairer word than Kyrie.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, he didn't actually use
Okay.
it, but what
Yep,
he might
got
as
it.
well have said.
Got it.
But anyways, Jaylen Brown, 23 points against Chicago. Daniel Tice, 22.
Yep. So that shows you what Jaylen Brown means. Anybody can get hot any given night.
Yeah.
Don't
Well, I
get
mean,
too excited,
he's been
folks.
great since he came off the bench, though. 2 games.
Keep him on the bench. Role player.
Same thing with absolutely not.
Role player.
Same thing with Hayward, though. I think it's just finding them the matchups they need.
Yeah.
And Smart's been doing a good enough job in the starting rotation.
Yeah. And he brings something that the other players don't. That extra little hustle, a little grit, a little intangible factor.
Well, yeah, I
That's
mean,
what he
he's
adds
got to
to-
be like insane at this point, probably sleep deprived.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to make a joke out of that. Obviously, not a joking matter, but
Okay.
I
Nice.
actually did make a joke about that,
You
so
just-
that's not a great look.
Bad
Yikes.
radio. All right. But yeah, definitely better from the Celtics, who we kind of gave them a scathing review a couple weeks ago when we said that, is this really the team that we thought it was going to be? Signs were pointing towards no. People were saying, are you giving up on the Celtics team? And a lot of people were, because they were, 10-10 at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Just
And
5
now-
games ago, they were 10-10.
That's right, and they've won all 5 of them. So 5-10, still not good enough for anything significant in the standings. Only 3rd in the Atlantic, and then of course Toronto up there, 4.5 games ahead. But it's a sign in the right direction.
It is.
So that's good, and you're getting more production from some of these other guys, these secondary players, and Jaylen Brown, Daniel Tice, whatever. And I think that's important, not only to get the kind of spread the love a little bit and make yourself more of a multi-dimensional team, but also to take some of the load off Kyrie and those guys, some of their injury concerns from the past, specifically with Kyrie, but also you never know about other guys. So I think it's good all around, and finally starting to figure things out there, which is important.
But it also doesn't help that Philly's on a roll, but even though Toronto's lost 2 straight in 3 of their last 4.
Right. So you're climbing back a little bit, and you're separating yourself from the likes of the Nets and the Knicks.
But it's still an uphill
Thank
battle, nonetheless.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Only 2 games this week, so not really anything that crazy. Of course, Anthony Davis and to the Celtics is still in speculation, but we've talked about that before.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think it could happen. I'd like it to happen, that's for sure.
Well, you can't so long as Kyrie is still on this contract.
Because you can't have more than one max contract? What?
I'm not really sure of the terms, but you can't bring in his contract with Kyrie.
Huh. Well, that's a problem.
Or
I didn't know that.
or it's something like you can't sign him to the or the max over the summer. So it's something intricate. I don't really know.
Okay.
I just remember seeing it come up.
Sure.
Not really my department to talk. I
Right.
don't really know.
Yeah. Hockey caps, but not basketball caps.
You can ask me any contract in the NHL.
Nice. Well, so things get a little bit busier this week for the Celtics. Tonight they take on the Pelicans, and then on Wednesday the Wizards. Friday the Hawks. Saturday the Pistons. But nothing there that's all that concerning.
So take advantage of the schedule.
That's right, and that's what we said last week. You have a pretty decent month here. Almost a month at least. It gets a little tricky when you take on Milwaukee, Charlotte, Philadelphia, Houston in a row. But there are winnable games for sure. And the way they're looking these days, it seems like they can certainly gain some much-needed momentum ahead of these big games.
Wow, this chair.
Man, everything is
Really
just going
squeaky.
terribly.
It's not my day.
It's not your day. Anything else
Oh
from the
my God,
Celtics?
this chair.
I feel like it's a slow Celtics week. I mean, we acknowledge
I mean-
that they're doing well. What else is there?
I mean, nothing really, because they've had good stretches in between games here
Yeah.
lately. So they're kind of hitting like the slow spot after they were playing almost every other night to start the season.
It's true. Alrighty. Well, moving along into the Red Sox. The biggest news of the week for the Sox. Nathan Eovaldi, your Super Bowl. Nice. Nailed it. Your World Series hero, Nathan Eovaldi, back with the Red Sox for 4 more years on a contract of $68 million. Hefty sum for a guy that had only half a season with you, but I think it's well-deserved.
Okay.
You don't?
I'm not sure. No,
Wow.
I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm obviously happy that he's back. I just don't know about the money.
I like it. Go get it. This is what they're doing.
Paying
They're
for
saying,
clutch.
you know what? You got Price here, who's coming off one of his best seasons in a long time. Take advantage of that momentum. You got Sale. Who knows how long he'll be around. Take advantage of that. You got Betts, Bogarts, all these guys who could be gone in a number of years. You're trying to take advantage of this window, and you did it this year with that big World Series win that they'd been waiting so long to get, at least with this core group of players. And all of a sudden now, it seems like they're going for it again in 2019. And that's great to see. You just hope it pays off for him. Because next thing you know, Nate Eovaldi could be the next, like, Cespedes or Sandoval or Crawford or Gonzalez.
Alan
or
Craig, Rusney Castillo.
The
list goes on.
Yeah, we could go on. So you just worry a little bit with Dombrowski throwing out money like this. Although, money doesn't really matter in baseball as much. So
Money means nothing to me in baseball.
Okay.
I made my thoughts clear on that.
And 4 years is a long time for a guy who has had 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yeah.
You just hope he didn't catch lightning in a bottle there in the World Series, and he's going to fall apart here this season, which is a very possible possibility. How about that?
It's obviously a risk.
It's a big risk.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for this relatively unproven guy. But he showed you he could do it in the bullpen. He showed you he could do it as a starter. Showed you he could do it in the bad games. Showed you he could do it in the big games.
Yep.
He's versatile. He's clutch. Seems like he, puts everything out there and he pitches. What more could you want? A healthy elbow. That's what you could want.
Yeah, well, it seems healthy right now.
You just hope it stays that way.
Of course.
But I think it's a great sign for Red Sox fans. And going into the postseason, I don't know if I said it on this podcast. I hope I did. But he was my biggest target. We can go without Kimbrel. We can go.
I think you did say that.
I think I did. There are guys that will be fine without, but I really wanted this guy, and it's good to see him back.
So you bring back 2 of your biggest clutch players in Eovaldi and Pierce.
It's true. It's almost weird, like Steve Pierce 1-year deal. How old is he? He's up there for sure, but
is he
1 year? I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit of a slap in Steve Pierce's face, because he's arguably more proven than this guy.
He's 35, and no, he's been he hasn't really been a utility man, but he's been like a depth first baseman for most of his career.
Yeah. Well, what's Eovaldi been? Injured, so.
Yeah.
I just feel like,
when
you
he's played,
give Pierce a 1 year, and then you give this guy 4 years, it's like, oh, interesting. But pitching is more important than depth at first base, so. Good to see him back. And
so with the contract, Chris Sale is now the fourth highest paid starter in the Red Sox rotation.
Huh?
Chris Sale is now your 4th highest paid starter.
That's unbelievable. I was reading something.
Behind Price, Eovaldi, and Porcello.
That's nuts.
Yep.
Porcello.
Yep. I think Porcello. I know it's for sure.
Yeah,
Price and
no,
Eovaldi.
I think so. What is it, Pomerantz? No, it's Porcello. And good for Porcello because he's consistent. And Price is on that ridiculous contract that we signed 4 years ago, whatever. But yeah, Chris Sale, we're
Rick Porcello
enjoying
makes 20.
That one. Wow. So that's nice.
Where Chris Sale is making 9.15.
Yeah. I was just reading that, when they did the video premiere, as you do every time you win a championship, you have a big video about it. Apparently, Nate Eovaldi got the biggest cheer at it because of his performance in Game 3. It just shows what he means to this team.
I can see it.
So that's what I was reading, relatively.
Also, the World Series DVD is supposed to be a dud, I heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be awful.
That's too bad. They kind of have to throw it together. It's only been a month. But whatever. Insignificant, to say the least.
Yep.
But that's cool with Eovaldi coming back, and I'm sure there will be more big moves like that to go over as this off-season progresses and the hot stove. But I think that can transition us into some national news. And if you don't mind, I think we'll go back to the NFL where we began.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking at some playoff implications here, because the Patriots lost brings them down to four losses. And I was kind of thinking this over, so let me just go off here on the brain cells going at whatever. I just lost so many brain cells in that sentence. So the Patriots have their normal 4 losses. And I think condition A is that they need to win out the rest of the way, which is definitely possible. You can beat the Steelers, and then obviously it shouldn't be too hard to get past the Bills and Jets. So you should end up 12-4, classic, Patriots, great. But it's not that easy because the Chiefs have 2 losses. They take on the Seahawks, the Chargers, and some awful team that I forget. But it's totally possible for the Chiefs to lose those 2 big games against the Seahawks and Chargers, 2 teams that are both trying to climb in the playoff positions. So I could see the Chiefs as well ending up 12-4, and you have the tiebreaker over them. So you could hop, skip, and a jump over them. But the problem is, if the Chargers beat the Chiefs, and then the Chargers are the number 1 seed because they only have 3 losses right now. But they also take on the Ravens and the Broncos. Very losable games.
Yes.
Just so many things to consider here. And I know we're probably overthinking it, but it seems like in a year where
I tried to turn the mic off just in time for the sneeze, and it did not work.
That was violent. Wow. Oh, sorry about that.
It's just not
folks.
my day at all.
No.
It really isn't.
What I was saying, it seems like this year more than ever, the Patriots need home field. That's what I'm trying to say. So you need to win out the rest of the way. You need to get at least the 2nd seed, and the 1st seed would be so nice. And then, of course, you have to worry about the Houston Texans, by the way, who are now at 4 losses as well.
Yeah, they dropped to the Colts yesterday.
Yeah, they fell to the Colts. Thank you, Colts. So if you win out, you're ahead of the Chiefs because you have the Texans because you have to head over them. You've won the games you needed to win for the tiebreakers, which is nice. But I just think it's more important than ever that you get home field. And like you've said multiple times, you don't think you're going to win in Arrowhead. Let's say the Chargers end up that 1 seed. You think you can win at LA Galaxy's field? Can you imagine at the AFC
that'd be a
Championship?
home game for the Patriots.
Yeah.
That'd be a home game.
What?
It'd be a home game. The Chargers have no fans of their own in that.
Oh,
stadium.
that was sarcastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's insane. Can you imagine the AFC Championship being in an MLS stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. So, obviously, being a Patriots homer and all that, it'd be nice to have them back here for the AFC Championship. And I could totally see it happening still. I think you got to win out, obviously. But the Chiefs and Chargers are very capable of choking big games.
Yeah.
As we have seen time and time again. Andy Reid, playoffs, not 2 things that go together very well.
Not at all.
So I don't know how easy it was to just follow all that, but that's kind of what's been going through my mind, thinking about playoff implications. And then you talked about you're not beating anybody from the NFC. The Rams lost to the Bears 15-6.
They did.
How's your Rams offense?
Not good because my fantasy team lived and died by Todd Gurley again.
Yeah, a bit of a moment of silence for my fantasy team, which fell last week after all that anticipation. Thank you, Phillip Rivers, for screwing my team over with that performance on Monday Night Football. Okay. But yeah, Rams not too hot anymore. And
Still 11-2.
well, yeah, Saints are still rolling too. So.
Yep.
Yeah, NFC's looking decent. Or so they're
The NFC is looking fine.
the top of the NFC. Yeah.
Also, Browns beat the Panthers. Baker.
But yeah, things are spicy in the AFC playoff picture because you got the Colts and Titans of the AFC South both sitting at 7-6. Of course, if the Texans have a meltdown, either of those teams could end up winning the division, but it seems like they'll both be jockeying for a wild card spot. And then, of course, you got the Ravens and Steelers, 7-6 and 7-5-1 respectively there. So neither of them any locks to get in. And then the Dolphins, too, with that huge win against the Patriots. They're at 7-6. A lot of room for movement there.
There is.
Yeah.
A lot of jockeying going to be happening in the AFC.
3 more games. Who knows how it will end up, but hopefully it ends up favorably for our Patriots because we're homers.
Well, that's the job description.
That's the job description.
Boston podcast,
That's
you're going
right.
to be rooting for him.
That's right.
I
Any
don't
other?
really- I don't really have anything else.
Nothing national that you want to get to at all?
Not that I can think of.
Wow. Off his game today, folks.
I'm so bad today. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Come back next week. Gotta come back next week. Gotta be better and improve in all phases of the game. That's my Belichick impression. Was it good? Was it good?
It was okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Gotta be better. Alrighty. Brain cells have been lost Boston sports have been covered.
I'm just like so out of it right now. I don't know why.
That's all right. It's early on a Monday. It happens.
Combined with the cold that just slapped me in the face.
That's true. That's not helpful.
Not at all.
But that will conclude episode 12 of the Beantown Banter podcast. Big episode 12. Tommy TB12. The big one, too.
The GOAT podcast.
The GOAT? Oh, okay. But it wasn't.
It was not. Not today.
No, but not our day. But we will be back.
Better than ever.
Better than ever next week. Taking you into some, I don't know. There's nothing. Well, whatever. What am I saying?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. It's going to be a good one next week. Stick around for that. But for now, for Patrick Donnelly, I'm Brady Gardner. Thanks for listening.